Welcome to the Business, Family, Marriage Podcast with Tim Smoyer. Hi, I'm Bill Scott. I am the guy who's responsible for Tim and Dana meeting each other through a radio show I did back in 1997. Now, it's so fun to see them start their marriage life together 9 years later as youth workers. At that time, they were making about $14,600 a year. But today they're growing a successful 7-figure business, providing YouTube strategy for some of the world's top brands and creators. It's pretty phenomenal to watch. And during that time, they somehow managed to have 7 kids in 8 years. That's crazy. It's almost like a record. Hey, I'm actually a business owner myself. I'm a radio personality who does fundraising for Christian radio stations all over the world. But I'm also a husband and a father, so I know how crazy life can be. Like when you're like the Smoyers, trying to manage your business, family, and marriage all at the same time. It's intense. Hello. One of the things I appreciate about Tim is he's willing to try new things when solving many of the problems that come up with the kind of lifestyle that they have, whether it's ongoing work-life balance problems, marriage struggles, business issues, or something else. In this podcast, he shares what he's learning, what's worked, what hasn't, and what he's trying next to grow a fruitful business, family, and marriage. For more on that today, here's Tim.
Good evening. Good to hang out with you guys here. I have a special guest, my very first guest for this podcast.
Does that make me special?
You are special. It's my wife. We have a question from Dave I thought was really good about managing time and balancing time with spouse and kids and work and for yourself and all of that. And I think that's been a struggle for us. And I feel like we've kind of gotten to a place where we've got some things at work. But here's the question from Dave. And if you guys have questions that you want to ask in the future or responses to anything, I love hearing from you guys. So in the show notes, there's a link where you can do what Dave did and just leave a quick little voice message. And you don't need to download any apps or anything. It's just super easy to do straight from your phone. So, but here's the voice message that Dave left.
Hey, Tim, this is Dave. I'm going to give this another try here. I am really curious to learn from you and your wife's strategies and tips for prioritizing and managing time with your spouse, time with your family, even while still trying to move your business forward. Just to give you a little background, I'm self-employed in remodeling. My wife runs a part-time business, and then I'm also trying to do YouTube on the side. And on top of all that, we have 3 kids, ages 6, 4, and 1 about. So we've struggled with this a bit, and we would love to learn from what you guys have found to be helpful. So I would really appreciate that. Thanks for all you do. I love these podcasts, and can't wait to hear more.
What do we do, wife? I asked her this question earlier, and she started like rattling stuff off. And I was like, whoa, hold on. Like, save it for the podcast. Like, it's all good stuff. So I feel like this has changed for us over the years. When we had 1 kid, then 2, then 3, and now 7.
It looks different in every season.
Yeah, and also even like if we're in a zombie state where we're just not sleeping that much because the kids is like a newborn, but then also with breastfeeding, and that makes it hard to get away. And
I would say the one consistent thing though, like through all those seasons, I think we started when we had maybe 3 kids, maybe 2. It's been a while, but we started like setting aside the Sabbath, setting aside our Saturdays, and protecting that.
Yeah. So we decided like we need to set a rhythm for our family, like a weekly thing that we just kind of know this is what our week looks like and how it's structured. Little things change in terms of doctor's appointments and things like that from here and there, but for the most part, we have some set rhythms that just keep our family grounded and keep us on the right track. And one of those is practicing this idea of a of a day of rest, once a 24-hour period. We do ours Friday night to Saturday night. It just works best for our schedule.
Well, it was kind of like trying to figure out, like, how do we get into a really healthy rhythm? And so, like, where's a better place to turn than to scripture? And how did God set it up? When he created the earth, what did he set up to work best? And that was, he worked for 6 days and then he rested on the seventh.
Yeah.
And so instead of just trying to fit in a day off whenever possible, like, it was like, no, like,
You schedule it and
Yeah.
you commit to it. Yeah.
yeah, like, this is going to be it. Every seventh day, every Saturday, we're not working.
Yeah, and I think what I used to think of as a day of rest, which for us in terms of this question is like, this is our time for our family. It's set aside every week, 24 hours, where our kids know and we know that we are going to have time for our family. And I used to think that a day of rest was just not like working, like going to work, or if it was like I was still working, it wasn't restful for me. And at first it was like, okay, if we're gonna do a day of rest, for me, like, it was baby steps. For me, it was like, can I just go 24 hours without checking my email? And that's how I got started. Nothing else changed. And that was really hard for me to do. What year was that? How many years ago was that? I remember we were in our old house.
Our little house.
Yeah.
Our 900 square feet that
Yeah,
we grew to 8 of us.
Yeah,
in
we
that
started our
house.
business and grew our family
To 8 people.
to
in
8
that one.
people. No, well,
We
yeah,
moved
yeah,
in
8
at
people,
4
yeah.
and we doubled our size
Yeah.
in 900 square feet.
Yeah.
I want to say that was probably around 2013 or 14.
Okay, so it's been 6 or 7 years now we've
Yep.
been doing this. Wow, I didn't realize it that long.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so that was how it got started. Actually, it ultimately got started because we had some other people, friends of ours, who were doing that kind of thing. We're like, what is that? That's kind of weird.
They invited us in to be able to see
Yeah,
a
well,
glimpse of a new rhythm. And
Yeah, so the way it looks is on Friday night we have a big celebratory fun meal, and throughout the week the kids, our whole family just drinks like almond milk, water, and then the Friday night they get sugar-free sodas like Zevias, or they can get juice, and we usually don't have much sugar during the week, but we'll do a little sugar treats on that day. So it becomes like this big, fun, festive thing the kids look forward to, sometimes with other families. So they invited us in, and we were like, oh, this is kind of cool, Like, and then I read a book called Every Good Endeavor by Tim Keller. Really good book about connecting our work to God's work. And in there, he talked about this idea of having a Sabbath day of rest. And so that is something our kids look forward to, something I look forward to. I have no problem not checking email anymore for that day. And like right now, we're coming off of that. Today was this week's Shabbat, and we watched a family movie. So it looks different in different seasons, and we just know Saturdays, well, every other Saturday for us especially, is like family focused. We're going to do something fun with the kids, whether that's just, we just need to sit and rest and watch a movie together. We do that. Our kids don't get screen time unless we're doing it together as a family, making memories together. And so that's a very special event for our family. Or find a fun park to go to, or go swimming, or play games. Or go for a hike.
Yeah. So just something that's specifically like together as a family, we're going to do this. And the activity varies depending on what our energy level is that day.
I think part of the struggle for me in doing that in the beginning too is like, I can't afford to take a day off. That was the fear I had. It was like, I am the only one working on this business, or in Dave's case, on this YouTube channel or something. It's like, and if I'm not working, nothing is happening. And you feel all that pressure to, like, you can't afford not to work. And I think what I learned is I couldn't afford to not work.
Well, I think it was a trust factor of, are you trusting yourself to bring all the money in, or are you trusting that God's the actual provider for our family? And that was a huge lesson for you.
Yeah. Yeah. So every other Friday to Saturday, we have a family rest day. And then on the alternating ones, Dan and I have been learning that we also need time just for ourselves. And so once a month, it's Dana's day of rest where the kids and I are still going to have family day together doing something, but then Dana is off and she either goes and meets up with friends or goes and just does shopping or fun shopping, not like grocery shopping, like something.
Whatever I want to do
Whatever
to
you
fill
wanna
my
do.
tank or
Yeah.
go hide in the basement and just quilt.
Yeah, and I do, and then once a month it's mine. And I usually go out to lunch with a couple guy friends or something, and or play Xbox and get caught up in my video games or just something that's like just for me. So, that rhythm has been good on a weekly basis. Another one that we do is we have scheduled during the week date nights. Mm-hmm. And
Like
that
scheduled as they're on the calendar, so we see it every single week, and it's just there in front of us.
and we have babysitters. Babysitters is usually like I find where people a couple things. It's like one, we can't afford the babysitters, or even if I could, I don't know where to get them, and I think that's one a community problem. But even if you don't have the community problem, you still can't find one. Then it's we use care.com and have had some relatively good success with that. Definitely try more than one person if you use it, because the first one might not be the best. I think.
And do an interview and have them just come and meet first before you actually leave.
That's right. I think we tried 3 on there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And actually we have
I interviewed 3, trialed 2, kept 1.
Yeah.
So.
And that one turned into our nanny, actually, which is not what we're talking about yet. But just in terms of date night, if you can't find someone,
Date
at least
nights,
go
we
there.
usually go with like teenage girls in our church community. And with 7 kids, we typically, especially starting
pay 'em,
off,
yeah.
we hire 2 at a time. And then after they've had a few weeks with us, then they feel brave enough to do all 7 kids by themselves.
Yeah.
So, but they get their increased pay. Like, so if there's 2 sisters coming, we pay both sisters a certain amount. And then if only one of them comes, they get the amount for if there were 2 of them. So we've learned that they stick around a lot better if you pay them well and make it worth their time as well. So
Yeah, I'm like, I want you to feel motivated to come back. So.
yes. But then there's weeks that
And the kids are good. I mean, it sounds like when I say that the kids are like terrors or something. They're not. They do great. In fact, we've had sitters who are like, I would much rather watch your 7 kids than like 1 or 2 kids of some other people's families. Yeah. So,
but then there's the weeks that it's not in the budget to have a babysitter, or the babysitters are busy. And so, but with having it on the calendar, that's like still a reminder, like, oh, this is blocked aside for us to have our time together. We don't have a babysitter tonight, but we know this is coming up, so we can make sure that we finish dinner early and get the kids to bed early, and if necessary, give them a little melatonin to help them fall asleep, and just be diligent about having that time together, even though it might not look as great doing it at home, but you can get creative with it.
Yeah. Watch something or
that's
just
true.
play
We don't
games.
usually watch anything else unless it's an at-home date night.
Yeah,
so.
like we don't. Yeah, our TV. We don't have TVs visible really in our house.
Which has been funny. I feel like recently we've had 2 different kids be like, "Where's your TV?"
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, we do have one. It's just not front and center.
Yeah,
in
we
our home.
don't. Our living room isn't organized around it like you might see in a normal house. So we'll just play cards. Might just sit and talk and have a drink
Special
of
treat.
something. Yeah, or a special treat, or you'll maybe bake something, or we'll bake something together sometimes, and sometimes during the summer it's like let's just go out to the garden and pick strawberries and eat them while we talk.
I do like walking around our property
Yeah.
and just getting outside, enjoying the evening.
Yeah. So we have found that has been important, and I think if I don't know if this is true actually or not. Let me see what you think. That I think it ultimately comes down to a belief, maybe value system, and then a commitment to it. Where it's like, if you don't protect it, other things will always crowd it out.
Yeah.
Because it just doesn't feel urgent. It doesn't feel like as needed or as necessary in the moment than the growing email inbox or the doing the budget and doing the bills or like whatever the thing is. There's just, and then some people just overcommit on their families and they've got kids who are on the different things every night and
Right, 'cause
and now
it's
they don't have
easy.
time for themselves and
I
each
feel like
other.
it's a lot easier, like if we don't have a babysitter, to be like, well, we don't have a babysitter, we're not paying anybody tonight, so this other event came up, so I'm gonna go do this while you stay at home with the kids. And doing that too many times in a row, I think if we miss 2, for sure 3 weeks in a row, if we don't get out together alone or have an at-home date, things start getting a little tense.
It gets a little awkward to start it again. You're like, hey, haven't seen you for a couple weeks, you know?
Right.
Yeah, is this kind of, you gotta
You get out of that
ramp up
rhythm,
again.
and it's, yeah, just like, well, what do we do on these nights?
Yeah. So yeah, having a date night, protecting it, and I heard someone. I think it was on our wedding day. It was. I remember it was an old guy. I don't know who he was, but someone from your dad's church, I think. You know where this is going?
No.
Oh, so he stands there and he's like, "Remember," he's like, "You can either pay the babysitter now or the divorce lawyer later." And I was like, "Okay." It might be a little dramatic, but
I
his
don't know.
point was made though.
I don't know
in
if that's
terms of, like-
dramatic. I think that's a lot of truth right there.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, well, that's kind of stuck with me, especially when it's like your wedding day. You're like, okay, this old guy's giving me advice. I have no idea who he is. But so I think it's just like saying, hey, we believe this is important, this matters, and we're going to say no to other things in order to say maybe no to good things, so that we can say yes to the best things, the things that are actually going to keep our relationship and our marriage and our family just running smoothly and things. So there's the date night thing. Another thing I was thinking of that we do also, and this has been more recent for us, is we've designated one night a week for us to have just our own time. And so kind of like we have our own once a week or once a month Sabbath where we just have go to do whatever we want to ourselves. We also, like my night is Thursday night. Well, yeah, Thursday nights and yours is Wednesday nights.
mm-hmm.
So your Wednesday nights, you typically get together with your small group Bible study ladies who are your kind of like your best friends, and sometimes you do Bible study, sometimes you don't, but you just get together with them.
Yep.
And then my Thursday nights, every other Thursday, I go to another guy's house, and he kind of has like a fatherhood mastermind roundtable discussion type thing that I go to. And then on the in-between Thursdays, I either just do something by myself here and you take over putting kids in bed and everything. And I can either meet up with some other guys. Sometimes I'll invite guys over here to our house to just hang out at the fire and just talk and chill. Other times I'll play some Xbox or so, just having that personal time just for us. And there have been a few times I've worked that time instead.
A few.
Yeah, and I
Quite a
try
few.
not to. I feel like that's on me to protect that time, but sometimes I'm like, I can't. I got like consultations all day tomorrow, and the only time I have to prep for them is now. So I'm kind of preaching to myself.
Maybe you just need a different night. Look at the calendar. and
No. I think what I need to do is actually on Wednesdays, because Wednesdays afternoons for me are usually a little more flexible, is look ahead and be like, oh, like Friday is back to back. Like I have, let's say, 5 consultations that day. I need to prep for them now, so I don't have to do that on.
You got to get out of
Thursday.
that regular high school,
I'm
college rhythm of
Yes,
cramming for the
that's-
test
I'm
the
in-
night before.
I am in the rhythm of I look at the next day's schedule the night before,
Right.
and
Instead of doing
It's
like a
hard to
weekly
plan.
review of what's coming up.
I would say I'm like a 66% hit rate on having maybe 75%, like, of actually having my Thursdays.
I don't know.
Because I don't miss
curious
the
to
in between
actually-
ones where I go to Jeremy's.
That's true.
And so sometimes I miss the in between ones. So
Yeah.
I think it's probably like
Yeah.
75% of the time I do it.
Yeah, so I would say in this season that we're in right now, we're just learning a lot about protecting, or not protect, well, maybe protecting, but taking care of ourselves. And when mom and dad are being taken care of really well, then the family benefits from that and the kids benefit from that. So I think before we've had a lot of times of like, oh, but we need to like have one-on-one time with our children, or making sure that they are getting their needs met. But we were kind of sacrificing ourselves in those seasons of being more kid focused than mom and dad focused. And we learned that really didn't go so well, and we started really struggling ourselves. And so now that we're learning to take care of ourselves, I think it's a lot more like the day to day is easier. Well, maybe not easier, but it's more, we have more capacity to give to our kids whenever we are protecting ourselves and taking care of ourselves. So, yeah, so I think that's a key thing of making sure that we are healthy, and then that just overflows into our kids and teaches them.
Yeah, their demeanor is much more calm and secure. They're not fussing at each other as much. I think they just, when there's tension between us, they sense that, and maybe not just tension, just not intimacy, maybe, and I think that kind of spills over to the kids too.
Yeah.
I guess the last thing that comes to mind for me is, and this is a little bit more of a newer thing for us too, but because, like I said in the beginning, like how we do this, we've done it really poorly for seasons of our lives, and we've done it well. I think we're in a season right now, we're doing it maybe better than usual, and I think it's because we sit down, we make it intentional. But I think another thing that's really helped is we have hired more people to serve our
help in the
family.
house,
Yeah.
yeah.
So for like one, we hired a cleaning service. We have a housekeeper who comes every other Friday, and she does an amazing job of doing the deep clean, all the mopping, the scrubbing, the vacuuming, the like just changing the bed sheets and running those laundry, like running all that through the laundry and all that, because that was something like, if we could get some extra time together, like this, the cleaning has to happen, right? Like we're not going to live in a pigsty. So rather than you and the kids doing that, would it be worth our money to pay someone else to do that so we can have that time together as a family? And I think for most of our lives, we were like, no, but now that we have a bigger space to accommodate the larger family and all the hosting and hospitality stuff that we like doing, it's that became more necessary. And the other person that we hired as a family employee is this nanny, and it kind of mostly started, like, we know other people who have had the nanny or the au pair, what are those called?
Au pair.
Au pair, there we go. That word that I don't know. And our financial advisor we started using, he was like, hey guys, if you make over $200,000 a year, then it's a no-brainer for you to, like, it's worth the $42,000 a year to hire someone full-time and have them come be like a mom assistant. What do you call it?
I don't know. We call her a nanny.
Yeah, but a mom's aide or whatever. Basically, help with
aide.
the kids when we need it, do some meal prep when we need it. Yeah, those are the main two things we have her do. But
well, and ours that we found loves to teach as well, which is amazing for me because she pitches in and does homeschooling as well, and so that's been a huge blessing. And the kids really love her. She loves arts and crafts, so that was the main one that
we found her through care.com.
Yeah, and trialed a few different people because we
I feel
wanted
like this should
to
be sponsored.
from care.com.
Yeah.
And so that's just been huge, and just having somebody in the house that I can get along with, that we mesh well with, and man, she's just amazing, and it's been super helpful.
So I had to kind of do a mental shift on this, and because paying someone, she's here part time. She's not full time, but paying someone part time or even full time feels like there's no way we can afford that. Or I could think of 1,000 other better things to do with that money. Or you feel guilty by like I'm paying someone else to do what I should be doing as a mom.
That's a hard one.
Yeah, and I'm not in that position as much, but what stood out to me is in the Bible, this woman in Proverbs 31 is held up as like the most ideal, amazing wife and woman like you could possibly find, and someone pointed out to me, they're like, Tim, what's the first thing this woman does when she wakes up every morning? And it's like, I don't know. They're like, well, it's not, she doesn't go pray. She doesn't go read her Bible. She doesn't do all these super spiritual things. She doesn't, do meditation or whatever. First thing she does is she gets up and she prepares the house for her servants. Or in other words, her employees, the people who are there. She gets up and she prepares the house. And then once they start taking over the house, she goes out and does business deals and transactions and buys a vineyard and makes that fruitful and things. So, and buys that field. So, we were looking at that being like, oh, that's interesting. So, I don't know. When I noticed that, I was like, we should totally hire help. We have 7 kids in 8 years. Like, that's not normal for today's standards anyway. And that is a lot of work, and they expect you to do it all your own when you're, that's just a lot. And so that made it a little, I was like, okay, this is actually a thing. And now you are doing more of the business stuff too. Yep. You are part-time with video creators now. Even though you're a 50% owner, you are also reporting to another employee as their assistant, which you've been doing a really good job at. So you are like legitimately contributing to the family's economy and to the income and to the business that way. So
legitimately now?
Legitimately, yeah. What
I wasn't legit before.
No, you know what I mean. Like it's like it has a financial impact on the family, on your work.
I would say it had a financial impact before too, with not paying somebody else to come in and help.
Yes, but the part that...
But now I get to do something outside of the house that I enjoy. And
yeah, it's bringing you more life and energy, so your head isn't just always stuck in diapers and meal prep.
So when I come around the kids, I'm able to be more present with them and not dread all the work that just continues times 7.
Yeah. So I don't know if you have any thoughts on that, but my main point, I guess, is like, depending what your income level is, it's absolutely worth hiring help to come in and support your family if that's what someone needs. I don't think there's any shame or embarrassment in that.
Well, I see it too. Like, we get to bless somebody who, like, this is their gifting and this is what they want to do for work as well. Like, they want to come into somebody else's house and help them. And so to be able to help our nanny be able to do that for work and her not have to go choose something else, like, she enjoys being here and being with kids. And so, especially with all the COVID restrictions and schools and everything, like, this was like a perfect thing for a teacher to come and do. And so I don't see it just as we're putting money into this, but we're actually getting to bless another person and giving them an opportunity to work.
Yeah. So I think I would say just overall, like, this is where we're at now. It's not where we've always been.
Not where we'll be in a couple of years.
Yeah. It's always been something that we figure something out and it works for maybe a month, 2 months, maybe 3 max. And then we've always got to like come back and revisit it and be like, oh wait, okay, hold on, like this isn't working well anymore. So the Sabbath one, that's been pretty steady.
Yeah, and that's not changing. That's been working for many years, and that's sticking around. we're
getting into a pretty consistent rhythm now. But I remember when we first started trying to do
Oh,
this.
there was a lot
it
of
was
trial and
changing
error.
all the time. Yeah. And I think that was part of the process of like what works, what doesn't work. And I
Yeah.
think we were also deepening our belief in like this actually needs to happen because we were seeing the pattern more of
Right,
like
because
that
you get
didn't
into it and you
happen.
do it, and then you don't do it, and then you learn like, oh, we should do that again, and then you get into it for a little bit, and then you stop for a little bit, and
So I think we've been focusing on the balancing our relationship and time with the family and things, but in terms of the work side, it kind of sounds like I'm saying like work comes last. It doesn't, but I think in the beginning when it was just me working really, really like it was only me. I was working long, hard hours, and I think there's an appropriate season for that, but it can't persist for like 10 years or half your marriage or something. There's got to be a point where you're like, at this date, if this business isn't doing this by that time, like I've got to try a different direction rather than continuing to chase something that's just not working and not happening, and get stuck chasing a dream that is hurting your family. So I do think there's seasons where it's like, hey, wife, I'm going to be working really hard, and I'm going to be right after dinner, after the kids are in bed, I'm going to go out to my office and keep working some more, and I really just got to get this thing launched, but here's the date. And so you mentally know that like it's not going to last forever.
but there have been seasons where that continues on without a final
Yeah.
date, and that's caused issues.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. Like that's what we learned is like you can't just keep going at that pace and not have issues. So communication and defining boundaries, I think, are pretty important
Yeah.
for that. But I'm not. But I don't think it's inappropriate to have those seasons when they are needed, as long as it's not like perpetual back-to-back season. Oh, wife, I just need one more week. Oh, I just need one more month, or 6 more months, we'll get there.
Right.
And then like 2 years later, you're still saying the same thing. Like you can't do that.
Shouldn't do that.
Shouldn't, but yeah, you can't. Like you'll. And if you're like, oh, our marriage is still doing fine, well, you're probably not paying attention to it well enough to see that it's not at that point. So
I feel like we were probably in it for too long.
in the beginning,
Oh, yeah.
well, and we have a lot of little kids. I mean, they're still young, but they're not.
Right.
We only have one almost out of diapers now.
Well, and that's what I've been learning lately too, is like part of postpartum depression can kick up whenever things are not going well, when those rhythms are not in place and they're not being protected. And I'm just now learning like what boundaries I should have had back in those years. And so now I'm just moving forward and trying to heal from those seasons that were really hard. But things got pretty ugly.
Yeah.
So
But I'm thankful we have better rhythms now.
that's a time for a different podcast.
Yeah. So, yeah, thanks, Dave, for the question. Hopefully there's something in there that is helpful. This is mostly just our story, not things that we're necessarily prescribing. It's been mostly a journey of trial and error over the years. More error than trial, maybe?
Yeah, but I think it's been good, though, because we've both been okay with trying different things and being like, I don't know if this is going to work or not, but let's just try it. And if it doesn't work, we can do something different. And so,
yeah. Yep. Well, if you guys have any other questions or reactions or feedback or follow up to that, you guys know how to send a voice message in and leave a question or a comment, and we'd love to hear what you guys are thinking. And thanks for hanging out. We're going to go to bed because this has been our hangout time.
yeah.
And you
Date
leave in
night's
the
over
morning.
now.
Well, you leave in the morning to drive to Minnesota for how long a drive? 14 hours?
Yeah, it'll be about...
Without cruise control in
Yeah.
that car.
Yep.
Man. All right. We will catch up with you guys later. Thanks for hanging out.
Bye.